Right. Good morning and welcome back to Daybreak. There's something I want us to run just before we introduce the guest of the moment.
Nasawa! Nasawa! Nasa Uhuru! Nasa Ruto! Nasa Jubilee! Nasa Laboso! Haya. Nataka sasa tuende moja kwa moja.
Right. I'm sure you remember him. And he is here. Musalia Mudavadi, NASA
Good.
Principal.
Thank you.
The ANC Party Leader. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How's your new year?
So far, so good, but a lot of challenges.
Right.
Yeah, the mishap of last week definitely caught everybody off guard.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was in the year 2017 until about maybe September.
Yes.
Where is that Mudavadi of those days now?
Well,
you are
he's
so vibrant.
He's here. I mean, that was campaign mode. And clearly we're not in a campaign mode at this point in time. We have to do other things as much as we are following and getting involved in politics. So clearly that was somebody in the field at that time. And he has not changed. He's still here. Yes.
So politically, where are we?
First of all, it's interesting. Maybe you need to elaborate a little bit when you say politically where are we?
Yes, exactly what I mean is now we saw a NASA team that time of Raila Odinga, yourself, as Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula. Now it appears that Raila Odinga, with the handshake, he is now working with the president closely. We see Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who said that he's mtu wa mkono wa rais. Moses Wetangula has since moved on. Where are you?
Well, I think maybe before we go there, you will recall that on Tuesday last week, Kenya went through a very traumatic moment. And I believe that it would be important that I say something about the events of Tuesday, the 15th, when we experienced a terrorist attack. Because this was traumatizing for the country. Lives have been lost. And we need to acknowledge that Kenya is going through a very challenging moment. I wanted to just bring this out because I had a personal experience here. My son was directly involved. He was caught up in this situation. For 2 hours, he was experiencing the chaos and the sense of fear that had gripped the nation. Now, the Kenyan forces did a fantastic job. Their engagement with these terrorists was within the shortest time possible. And in the process, they disrupted a more chaotic and tragic situation. So I think at this point in time, I first must extend my sympathies and condolences to those who lost their families, family members, and those who were injured. But at the same time, I think as a nation, we should rally behind our security agencies because they did a good job. They foiled a possibly mega disaster. 700 people were saved. And we tend to take it for granted that what they do, we normally take it lightly. And I come out on this because there's, sometimes when you look at tweets or you come across tweets, there's a gentleman, and I feel sorry for him. He actually tweeted and said that these security forces should have done better. Why did they take about 12 hours or so to subdue these terrorists? And here's a fellow tweeting from a position of safety, way away.
Yes.
He does not realize that this is literally a war zone. People's lives have been put on the neck, on the table.
Right.
And you tend to downgrade or take for granted what they're doing. Sure. I think these are some of the things that as Kenyans we should take a step backwards and start appreciating our own forces and our people. Mm-hmm. And I also want to, at this point in time, for instance, to dedicate a moment of respect in terms of the communication to somebody like Japhet Nuru, who is going to be buried in Taita Taveta. He is somebody who was on the front line. He lost his life, sure. But in the process of losing his life, he saved more than 700. He helped in saving more than 700 others. So these are things we should appreciate as a people.
And of course, we continue to condole with the families affected in this attack. But Mheshimiwa, now that you brought that up, yes. Every other Kenyan, when they look at this, yes, they understand the efforts made by the security officers, but when they sit back at home, they wish it didn't happen. How do you ensure that moving on, we are able to use the resources that we have, including the intelligence services that we have, to avoid such attacks? And I say this because of, I'm sure since that attack, you've seen the kind of information that has come out on the web, the linkages that these people had. Why is it not possible to foil these attacks and have all this information before they happen?
I think there's something I can tell you as somebody who has worked in government before, that we are perhaps reading too much here, or we are not getting the gist of it. I can tell you for free that I know the security forces have foiled so many other attempts. All right, it's unfortunate that we've had this incident, but I can tell you they have also foiled so many others, and they continue to do so. Clearly, there may be some shortcomings or some bad eggs in the chain of our security forces in different areas, because true, maybe movement of certain ammunition from one place to another may be with the help of certain fellows who I may term as bad eggs within the system. These ones, as the security forces evaluate themselves, they should be able to get rid of these kind of characters and therefore minimize the threat to the Kenyan people. So it's a long-term thing. And a few days ago I said that we must, as Kenyans, also appreciate that terrorism is at our doorstep. Because we have in the past stereotyped terrorists, you know. We say an Al-Shabaab fellow physically will look like a pure Somali, you know, from Somaliland. But we've come to realize that the terrorists have also gone beyond this. They're recruiting you and I, like the characters in Dusit. It's all public knowledge that one had origins in central Kenya, and another one had origins in western Kenya, amongst the others. Right. So clearly, when I say terrorism has gotten to our doorstep, it means that we as Kenyans must become more vigilant also. And we must also learn to appreciate and understand who is your neighbor, what are they doing, what is their lifestyle, broadly. These are issues that we all must become alive to. As much as the frontline aspect is for the security agencies, but we as Kenyans must help.
Are you persuaded by this argument that some of these young men or even women get into this radicalization because they are of the economic exposure or economic situation, or is it just crime?
No, it's a catalyst. I mean, when people are desperate, that can become a catalyst to engage in different vices. For instance, let me tell you, Kenya today, we have 80% of the youth, to be precise, maybe 78%, but 80% of our population is 35 years old and below. Do you get what I mean? Just try and, take into this. Just try and understand, 80% is 35 years and below. Now, these are young, vibrant people, generally well educated, relatively in Kenya, the education system, as much as we have our challenges, comparatively to other African countries, we are a fairly well educated society. Now, these people are strong, they are capable. But now unemployment levels are such that we have about 8 million young men and women who are unemployed. That means the largest category are in this bracket. So if we don't focus on dealing with these fellows in terms of engaging them and giving them opportunities that will change their lifestyles and occupy them, then it becomes a very rich hunting ground for radicalization.
Right.
And these are the things that we need to deal with. Now, let me go a little bit further, although we may talk about it differently. The research that I'm referring to, which has been done by some very well-renowned scholars in Kenya, have also established that 50% of these young people that I'm talking about, the 35 and below, when asked about corruption, they said they did not really mind about corruption. Now, that is dangerous. So as a nation, we have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work indeed to do, and unfortunately, even when you look at the profiles of the people that are being killed in this attack, quite a number of them are the young people.
Precisely.